Across the great divide between the English and French coastlines, where the channel broadens out, Britain struck at the German-occupied port of Dieppe. The eyes of the RAF see it now on the day when combined operations delivered the biggest raid so far carried out on occupied Europe. Our airmen forced the Germans into the greatest air action of the war. Lord Louis Mountbatten, who devised the operation, promised strong aerial support, and that promise was kept in full and overflowing measure. U.S. Army Air Force fighters also played an active part. Abbeville and Amiens being their particular objectives, the Americans sailed in and did fine work over their targets. At all times, protection from the air never let up. It was aboard one of our destroyers that we headed out across the channel in company with the men who were about to come to grips with the enemy. In assault landing craft and invasion barges of many kinds, including tank landing craft in operation for the first time, traveled the men who loomed out of the protective smoke screen to batter their way onto the beaches and quays of Dieppe. The Canadians, who formed the major portion of the force, our own special service troops and detachments of fighting French and American Rangers, going into the attack. For many savage hours they fought through the hail of German fire. Casualties were piling up on both sides as the Canadians and their brother warriors fought in the 9-hour Battle of Dieppe. It is here that we pay tribute to the sound seamanship of the naval units. The destroyers lived right up to their name. Overhead, great waves of Hurricanes, Spitfires, and Mustangs came snarling out of the clouds to drive off the Focke-Wulfs, Dorniers, and Junkers. The men in battle dress were well served by the RAF and the Navy. Outside the Dieppe Basin, the ALCs crept into the beach under cover of the ship's guns, while high overhead there came the ceaseless drone of warplanes. And the Boston bomber boys sailed in and let fly with many a stick of bombs. The German defenses were being well and truly plastered. Six minutes after the time scheduled, re-embarkation began, and with their task completed, the landing parties started on their homeward journey. Behind them, much of Dieppe was in flames, a pall of smoke drifting across the scene of stubborn fighting. All the way back, aerial combats were taking place. For hours, the sky was filled with a milling host of fighters as the biggest air battle ever fought saw planes falling out of the sky like red autumn leaves. Center screen on the horizon, you'll see them plunging towards the sea. In all, 91 German fighters were accounted for, and about twice that number probably destroyed, while 98 of our aircraft of all commands were lost. Completely out of control, another plane plunges like a stone into the channel. Rescue boats were skimming far and wide to pick up pilots who came floating down by parachute. 30 of our men were saved out of our total losses. A Spitfire circles the spot where a flight sergeant pilot has bailed out and now floats on the supporting air sacks of his May West. A frequently repeated incident, but real-life drama with a capital D. Having kicked off his flying boots, the pilot is hauled aboard with the help of many friendly hands and a good stout grab net. In spite of the ordeal, he comes up smiling. That boy deserves your applause. Warm blankets, a hot toddy, and down the hatch. The homecoming of the men who made news, big news. It is not in the scheme of things to sit back with satisfaction at the results. Dieppe is a dress rehearsal for more and bigger raids. The Nazis have it coming to them, and men like these are eager for another go. Gosh, who done that, mice? Battle-scarred men, yet still full of punch. Avenging angels with dirty faces. An indication of the hot reception our naval units met with. Steel plates held by flying splinters. A shot-up Hurricane which performed the miraculous and was flown back in this condition to make a successful landing with a retracted undercarriage. Mention has already been made of our new tank landing craft. Details of these are still on the secret list, but they made their debut under stern conditions. Their use marks an important step forward in the planned program of our agreed offensive policy. Valuable experience was gained in the employment of substantial forces and in the transport and use of heavy equipment. We might well spare a thought here to the people of Dieppe, who, warned by broadcasts and leaflets to refrain from taking any active part in the raid, were splendid in their restraint. The Germans will have no conceivable justification for any blood spilling in reprisal. The aftermath of battle always has its casualty lists. At ports along the south coast, Red Cross trains and ambulances were waiting to receive the wounded. Men who had fought so heroically on the beaches, on the cliffs, and in the streets of Dieppe. Back to the green fields of England there came the planes with men of the United Kingdom, of Canada, New Zealand, and our fighting European allies at the controls. These men had written another glorious page in RAF history. American airmen had also valiantly joined in the air battles, which developed on a scale comparable to those fought during the Battle of Britain. When we hit out again, we need no finer soldiers than these. We ask for no better seamen than the sailors who for centuries have ruled the seas. And we seek no nobler airmen. Europe awaits them.